Guys, we are at the Whiskey Blendery. What you're going to see over the course of the next few, probably years if we're being honest, is a combination and a collaborative effort.
Did you just invite yourself for 2 years?
Hey, look, I'm
behind
here,
the scenes?
I'm here for the next 20 years if I'm being honest. I already told this guy. and look, you see these barrels? I've never tasted better whiskey in my life, man. He spoiled us. That's the truth. And all my friends are like, God, dude, when you going back there, man? I said, I'll be back this weekend. I'll be back there Tuesday.
Yep.
So,
and we just got some results in last night.
Yeah.
From San Francisco.
What happened?
Got a couple more gold medals. so Double Jeopardy won gold again this year.
Oh my God! And look, I bought probably 2-3 bottles of Double Jeopardy myself.
So I mean, we know it's good.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool that people that do this and like are judging hundreds of whiskeys.
Yeah.
Also say like this is top tier. So
well, Tim here, he's running a business, right? In business, you need a scoreboard. So it's not always about the medal, but knowing that you're on the right track too. So you say, man, what's the scoreboard? Well, the scoreboard's a gold medal, and that matters in these cases, man.
Yeah.
So tell them a little bit how you got started, man. We're in the barrel side of this thing, and we've tried some stuff out of the barrel that's been.
The barrels matter. I mean, we are so small and intentional with what we put in the bottle that every barrel matters. And I could, if I've tasted it in the last year, I can kind of tell you what it is and what we're going to use it for, how long it needs to sit. So everything in here minus one test that I'm doing on some 4-year-old stuff. So those are 4-year-old high rye bourbons from here over. And actually the test I'm using on those is I brought those in 2 years ago. So the other 6 barrels that I have of that are still at MGP. So at the end of this year, I'm going to bring those in. Then I'm going to compare the 6 barrels that have had 2 more years at MGP in that climate in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, versus the 6 barrels here to see how the yield has changed, because the yield's going to be less on these. The proof's going to be higher on these. But from a taste and quality standpoint, what does that do? So
now, what's the trick to choosing a good barrel? Because I mean, you look at the barrels and you say, "Look, how do I know there's good whiskey in here?"
Yeah. So the number one thing is the cooperage. So the cooperage is the place where the barrels are made. The cooper makes the barrel. So I could line up 5 different cooperages with similar whiskey, similar age, similar location, and you will taste the difference that the barrel makes. So I've got maybe top 3 on the cooperages that produce just a superior quality whiskey, because the barrel makes such a big difference, and the wood on the barrel makes a big difference. So if you're using a cooperage that has low quality standards for the wood, and where they source the wood and how old it is and do they season it and the charring process and all that's what flavors the whiskey over time. So that makes a huge difference. So that's number one. Then you got to pay attention to which warehouse it's in. You got to pay attention to if it's racked, meaning the bung is on the side, so you open it up on the side here, versus palletized like these, where the bung is at the top. So that matters. And then the floor. So even in here, so we've got tier 1 basically all the way up to 5.
Yeah.
And there's about 1 degree difference as you go up. So there's 5 degrees warmer there than down here. Yep. So those will age faster up there than they are down here. So if I want them to age faster, I'll put them higher. If I'm happy where they are, I keep them down low, because I don't want them to change.
How often do you have to come in and taste the barrels to make sure that it's aligning with your intent?
Yeah, so I have more barrels in here than I can taste on a regular basis, and they're changing. I'd say every 3 months it's a new whiskey.
Okay.
So like the 2 barrels.
Whiskey ages then by every 90 days. It ages objectively.
It depends on the environment. In Texas, in this environment, It changes fast.
Yeah, it's going to be a hot summer, people. I mean, it's going
So this summer it's gonna change very fast. So like those 2 barrels up there, those are 8.5 year ryes, and I hadn't tried them for over a year, and I pulled some samples for a local whiskey club, and and they are phenomenal now. But I remember a year ago, like they're not there yet.
A little mediocre.
Yeah. So they have potential. So we just let them ride.
Let them just hang out.
Let them hang out. So
now, the whiskey business people I'm very unfamiliar with it, so we're here to learn as much as we can and kind of show you guys Tim's journey for sure. And you look at the storage, the barreling, the bottling, the barrel to bottle, the process, the experience, the labeling. I mean, I've seen so many moving parts.
And that's just in a couple of weeks you've seen that. So there's so many variables. Like a good example. So I've got some I got some samples in last week because I'm trying a new mash bill, 100% malt.
I read this too.
Okay.
That whiskey is just beer.
Okay. What else did you hear?
Well, no, I was reading it.
The process is
they
very
just
similar.
add hops or something and change it to beer, but they said objectively whiskey's just beer.
Yeah, so you're pulling sugars from the grain just like you are beer. So the mash is essentially very similar. So you're taking grains and you're steeping them at a certain temperature. So basically you're taking sugars, you're adding yeast to the sugar.
Yeah.
Then the yeast will eat the sugar, produce CO2 gas and alcohol. So then you're taking that alcohol and then you're distilling it versus beer. You've got your wort is what they call it, and then you're making your beer from that. So there's additional steps to distill to. So it's there's a lot, and we don't distill here, so I'm not the distilling guy. We're sourcing barrels.
And so the malt though, what are your expectations on the malt? Because that's
it's not a new thing. American single malt the popularity is going way up, and the market is headed towards American single malt. So MGP makes a very good 100% malted barley mash bill that people don't really know about because it's not really out there. But so we've tried some of it. I went through a broker because you can buy barrels through a broker. There's a ton of brokers that just buy up barrels and then resell them. And
it's interesting, the barrel selling business.
Yeah, and so I tried to get some samples in of the barrels because dealing with a new person, I want to try the barrels, make sure that they're a certain quality.
Yeah.
And normally when you get samples from MGP, they'll send at least 200 milliliters for the sample. And if I say, hey, I want 5 samples, they'll pick 5 barrels from the lot that I would buy. So then you're getting more than one sample set to see. Yeah. So they're obviously not pulling 5 samples from one barrel. You want to taste multiple barrels to see, okay, hey, what is this like as a whole? Mm-hmm. So I ordered 5 samples. I got them in. I got 1 sample, not 5. And it was proofed down to 80 proof, and it was pulled back in January, so 4 months ago. So it's irrelevant. Now it's proofed down to 80. So there's like so many variables. Like when you deal with different people.
Well, you told me that it was a little bit of the Wild Wild West in this space too.
It is. Yeah, it's. So you find the partners that work well with you, that have a high quality standard for themselves. Mm-hmm. You can tell if they're being honest about a lot of things, if they're being transparent, or if it's just like, hey, the market's hot, take these now, or they're going to be gone, and then they try to push you in that direction. So there's a lot of red flags, and there's a lot of things because we wouldn't be here if we got bad barrels.
No, people.
Like it wouldn't catch on, and I wouldn't want to do this if I had bad whiskey. So the barrels make a big difference. So we've got our little secret sauce on how we pick the barrels to make sure that when they show up, even if we don't taste them, that the quality is such a high quality that I can work with them. So you can, like, we just started a fill your own bottle experience that Hugh did for his birthday. His wife set it up.
Yeah.
And so I felt comfortable. I mean, we got almost 140 barrels in here, and I was like, all right, pick your barrel, like eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And I felt comfortable enough in here that these barrels are so good that I don't have to steer him towards like these 3 barrels because these are my only 3 good ones. He can pick any one he wants, and it's gonna be a certain quality level. And then from there, based on his feedback on proof point, on how spicy it is, on how sweet it is, then we'll go make recommendations to find a different barrel. But yeah, we've got some good stuff in here, and yeah, it's a lot of fun to play with.
Well, guys, a couple things to be mindful of. Timmer's going to continue to highlight and walk you guys through the whiskey business, how it works, things to be considered of. He has a very high standard, especially when it comes to, for one, doing good business, and then also making sure that the whiskey meets the standard. And I'll tell you one thing, man. We didn't even know we weren't drinking whiskey. We were like, man, I thought we were drinking whiskey. We was drinking. This is straight up saying shit, man. It's been straight shit. So this has been eye-opening, and it warms our soul to be in here.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of different finishing barrels, so we'll listen to people that want certain things, whether it's finished in apple brandy, a PX sherry cask, whatever. Like we had a guy that wanted a cognac barrel, and he wanted a orange liqueur barrel.
Yeah.
So like that's what we're working on there. That's an orange liqueur barrel.
He actually has one that tastes like Golden Grams almost.
Yeah, that was from Brazilian white oak called Amberana. Yeah, so that was another finishing barrel, which that's this barrel too. Right here.
Put the green on it?
No, just to the left of the green. So that's a Weller foolproof barrel that we were doing a project with. But yeah, so that actually today we'll be adding a test into that orange barrel. So we've already done a test with a rye, so now I'm doing a test with a low rye bourbon, putting it in that barrel. So we'll put about 3 bottles in, and we'll check it every day. So it'll only take a couple days since that's a fresh barrel, and then we'll see what influence the barrel has on the bourbon before we fill it up. So if we fill it up, then it's kind of like, hey, no going back, and I don't want to risk $15,000 by putting it in the barrel and then we ruin it. So.
And if you're trying to figure out how to get into this space or the business, it's not an easy one to get into. When you look at all the stuff happening, everything in here costs something. Even the building we're staying in costs something. So people think it's an easy start. It looks easy because you go into a whiskey out and there's tons of whiskeys, but it's not that easy. I assure you that.
Yeah, even to get a response from somebody to say, hey, like, yeah, I had another local distillery reach out, so they're probably going to come on Friday. Yeah. And they're just starting out, and yeah, if you don't have a few allies in the game, like it's hard to bootstrap it on your own. It's hard to do it on your own without bringing in somebody else. Then at some point, then it becomes not your own, and then so you either do it.
Look, those are the things we're going to get into, because you say, why would you want to do this? And everywhere I've gone, they say, look, you don't want to do this. But there's a different way. So objectively, on YouTube, you'll see us double dosing you on both platforms. You'll see the Whiskey Blendery and the Art of Whiskey. So that's what all we're doing. We're going to highlight the Art of Whiskey. Tim's a guy who also is getting to the consultant space as well. So if you want, like he said, he'll respond. He's got some hours he's potentially willing to bill you guys if you got questions. And I think he's worth every dollar that you have if you want to get into this space. And we're going to walk you down his road, the journey, and why you shouldn't get into the whiskey business and just keep drinking. Guys, drink up.